Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to show you probably the best game I played this tournament. And the first game I managed to get a real good solid winning advantage without too much complication. Until there was complication. So I think this is going to be very interesting. It's a very thematic pattern that happens, and I hope you learn something from it. So regarding the tournament situation, of course, I was doing very poorly, drawing and losing to lower rated players, and I don't know if you've had that feeling of hopelessness and powerlessness where you go into a game thinking that you cannot win. That's a dreadful feeling, and whenever I get it, it's because I've had bad results. And it's hard to get out of that. But okay, I played d4 and I played the London system. My opponent played the King's Indian defense, and this is all very standard. I don't want to waste too much time on the opening. h3 is because I don't want to lose my bishop. Bishop e2. The bishop does not belong on d3 in these setups because there's a pawn on g6. Okay, knight c6, signifying that black wants to go for an early e5 followed by f5, g5. Now this is one of the scariest setups to play against, and I did a lot of preparation against this, so I knew some attacking ideas for white on the queen side, and basically you're gonna get attacked, so you better get some counterplay on the queen side quickly with b4, b5, otherwise you're gonna be worse. Okay, so my opponent, I castled, my opponent played knight d7, I went bishop h2 in anticipation of e5, e5 happened. Now here you can go c3 or c4. I usually choose c3 because I want to go a4, b4, b5, and I want my center to be solid. Queen e7 is, I think, an unnecessary move because it weakens c7. I think you can go f5 straight away, but queen e7 isn't bad. a4, okay, and f5. Now here I threw in rook e1 because I wanted to have my bishop defended, and I didn't want to have my queen tied down. Ideally, I would like to recapture with the e-pawn and keep my c-pawn on the board to defend the b4 square. King h8 is also, I think, an unnecessary preparatory move. I think he should have gone g5 straight away. g5 would have been scarier, but okay, king h8. And now knight a3, which may be imprecise, but it supports my plan, and since the queen is on e7, it also puts some pressure on c7. So he played a6. Okay, and a6 is something I'm very happy to see, because it now creates a hook for me to target, and once I go b5, it's going to be a double attack. Especially if the bishop moves away from c8, then he's going to have to deal with the a6 pawn. So b4. And here he released the tension. He played e4. Now e4 is both good and bad. It gains space and it starts a kingside pawn storm, but it releases the pressure in the center. Now basically my c-pawn is no longer necessary to defend the center, and I can use it as a battering ram to break through the c-file. So it helps his kingside play, it helps my queenside play, so it's a double-edged move. Knight d2, knight f6, standard, and b5. Now in this position my opponent made basically the losing move. He had to go knight d8. That was necessary because this knight is needed to defend the d6 pawn. Since my bishop is very powerful on h2 and I'm breaking through, he needs to defend d6 since my b pawn is going to advance further and undermine the defense. And as you can see, I have two knights on the c4 square. So when I land the knight on c4, there's going to be a very dangerous double attack on d6, and he needs to defend that. But he played knight a5, and now this is probably my best move of the tournament. Just b6, and white is crushing black. There is no good response to this, although he did play a suboptimal move I think the best move is c6. This is what I was expecting, but now a simple queen b1 means that he has to create a square for the knight straight away, otherwise queen b4. And when he plays c5, then I go knight c4. And when we trade the knights, you can see this annoying pressure on d6. The only way to defend it is to go rook d8. Now I've misplaced his rook, and I can look forward to undermining the center from the other side of the board. This is a very pleasant position for white, and I have a space advantage, I have better pieces, I have all the pawn breaks, and it's not that black is losing, but on the highest level, probably black is losing. On our level, no. The most obvious cb6 fails immediately. This is just game over. If I go knight c4, he could trade, he could go rook d8, it doesn't really matter. If knight takes, if you turn on the engine, this is +3, knight c4. If he plays knight e8 to defend, I just take on b6, rook b8, and now I can continue c4, c5. And again, this bishop is going to be the star of the show. If he plays c5, very similar to c6, however, it allows me to trade immediately, and when he plays dc5, now I again go knight c4. The idea is bishop d6 without winning the pawn, instead just winning the exchange, and this is overwhelming. After b6 though, he played the most tempting move. He played knight d5, which seems to double attack 2 pawns. However, he can never take on c3. I took on c7, and he took on c7 with the knight, which is correct. If he takes on c3, then queen c2, knight e2, rook e2, and if he tries to win my c7 pawn with knight c6, then knight ac4 is again a double attack. And I don't think he has anything better but to actually take the c pawn and lose the exchange, because now there is no way to defend d6. If you go d5, I go bishop d6. So after bc7, he took knight c7, and now knight ac4. White's game is so dominant, there's pressure on d6. The engine says this is slightly more than +3. I thought it was more, to be honest, but okay. He traded, I took pressure on d6, he has to defend. And now knight b6, double attack, rook b8, and I just went rook b1. This is an improving move. I don't need my rook on the a file. Next I want to go queen d2 and rook ac1. I don't need to rush, there's no need to rush. Bishop e6, c4, preventing d5 and threatening c5. So you can see why I want to have my rook on the c file. He played bishop f7. I cannot explain bishop f7, to be honest. Maybe he was afraid of d5, but I'm not going to play d5, I'm going to play c5. Queen d2, just slowly improving my pieces, preparing rook ec1. g5, fine. Black is losing, so black needs to drum up some counterplay. Rook ec1, and he played rook f8 here. And now the winning move, c5. This pressure is too much for black to deal with. Black cannot defend everything. There's simply no way to defend everything. If you take on c5, then rook c5, and I'm just breaking through. If you move the knight, I'm going to take the rook on b8. So he played f4. And this is the position in which, pretty similar to the previous game, you have a winning move. You have to play it, and it's game over after that. You can pause the video here. I should say immediately that I went from winning to losing in 2 moves. And I should also admit that I had slightly less than an hour on the clock. So I had plenty of time, and that I didn't spend more than a minute on this move. So this is pure laziness during the game. not being in the game, not forcing yourself to calculate precisely and to calculate deeply. I just played the move that I wanted to play before I played c5 without double checking again. I played e takes f4, which is still winning if you find the correct continuation, but I'm sorry, my neighbors have some construction going on. I'm sorry about the noise. The easily winning move was c takes d6. Attacking the queen, attacking the knight. This has to be taken. And now either h4, undermining the g-pawn, which has to be responded to with h6. But in any case, after the trade, if h4, h6, hg, ag, I still take on f4. And now there are no moves for black. If gf4, bishop f4, winning the knight. If bishop takes d4, then bishop g4, simply winning the exchange after the trade. Yeah, if pawn takes, then I can just take with the bishop and then eventually take the knight. If bishop e5, attacking my queen, then queen takes d6, bishop takes d6, f takes g5, here, here. Let's say knight d5 and I just play knight d7. If rook d8, I just take the knight. There is no way to save both the knight and the exchange. It's over. If knight e6, which I think is the best move, then f takes g5. Attacking the queen, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4. I cannot play knight d7 straight away or take the rook, but I go bishop g4, ensuring that eventually I do win the exchange. Rook bd8 is the only move that doesn't lose the exchange immediately, but now bishop c7 and the rook has no squares. Yeah, that's unfortunate. If rook e8 in this position, then knight b7. And if rook g8, then rook takes b7 and then just breaking through. That's the only way to save the exchange, but it's still over. Instead, after f4, as I said, without thinking, I took on f4. And I'd just assumed that he takes back. But when he took on c5, I actually spent half an hour here. I realized what I'd done and that it's not simple. The reason I thought this doesn't work was the very simple f takes g5. I thought he cannot go dc5 because of fg5, attacking the knight and threatening rook c5. The only response I could see to this was bishop d4, but then I thought, okay, bishop d4, I have bishop c7. Queen c7, queen d4 check, winning immediately, which is true. But then I saw that on bishop d4, bishop c7, he doesn't play queen c7, he plays e3, and I resign. I don't have any response to this. He's threatening to win my queen. That's it. I just lose. Yeah. The best move here, which I saw but couldn't figure out, was rook takes. And after rook bd8, which worried me, I only have one move to keep a huge advantage, and that's rook e5. This is the move I'd missed. Giving up the exchange. After bishop e5, f e5, he plays either bishop e6 or bishop d5. Let's say bishop e6, bishop g3, and white is supposed to be winning this, although I couldn't figure out how and why. I'm the exchange down, but I have very good pieces and I should be much better. Instead, I played dc5, which makes the game equal, but in practice, black is much better. Rook bd8, queen e1, forced bishop a2, and in this position I went from an equal position, which actually, if you turn on the engine says plus 0.7 with rook a1. I went into a completely losing position after fg5. bishop b1, bishop d6, and now I thought, okay, rook d6, c d6, queen d6, rook b1, that's fine. Unfortunately, he didn't find the winning move. The winning move is queen g5. And now if I take on f8, for example, rook f8, rook b1, bishop d4, game over. I have no way to defend f2. And after that, I have no way to defend g2. He's just breaking through. Game over. Fortunately for me, he did take on d6, c d6, queen d6, rook b1, bishop d4, and now black is better. I should play something like knight c4 to stay in the game, but I played queen b4. And I just went from +3 to -5 in a couple of moves. And I knew that my position was just dreadful. But again, explaining that feeling is very hard. Explaining that unwillingness to put in the time and effort to calculate due to a bad mental state and negativity it's not about chess, it's about psychology. So he took on f2, which is a mistake. He should have played queen takes b4, and on this I would have resigned because I saw it as soon as I played queen b4. After rook b4 he has bishop c5, and that's about it. If I do something, I don't know what, he just takes on f2. Let's say rook b3, rook f2, double attack. Everything is attacked, black is winning. Instead he played bishop f2, king h1, and now he played bishop c5. And I thought, to be honest, that this was winning for me. And again, complete miscalculation. I thought queen e4, okay, he takes my knight, bishop takes, and now rook takes, queen takes, bishop c4 check, queen e5 check, king g8, bishop c4 check, rook f7 only move. And when he took on f2, I thought I had queen e8 here, which is absurd. I don't. If I had queen e8, I'm just winning, but I don't. But I do have queen e7, which I couldn't figure out. So if queen e7, then there's this geometry that ends up losing the knight for black. And same as I'd missed that the knight defends e8, I'd missed that on queen e7 the knight is actually hanging. This part I didn't see, which is why I didn't go for queen e4. He has queen b1, which he has to play, king h2 and queen f5. He has to defend the rook, and I just missed that the knight was hanging when I was calculating queen takes e4. It is 6 moves down the line, but still I should have seen this. And this is an equal queen endgame. As soon as I take the rook, he probably plays something like b5 and let's say queen d8. Something like this happens. Eventually I take the rook and it should be a draw. Instead, since he offered the draw after bishop c5 and I knew that I couldn't be better, I did repeat. I played queen b2 and bishop d4 and queen b4 and so on. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this game anymore. It was tough for me to deal with then. It's still tough to look at the monstrosity I created from a completely winning position. Again, after f4, c6 is a tempo move. It's a tempo move. He has to take. He has to line up the queen with the knight. Okay, but anything other than bad chess is a bad excuse. There's no other excuse other than my calculation was bad this game and I played a bad game. Everything was about calculation this game. I outplayed my opponent, I calculated b6 correctly, and then when I had to land the killing blow, I miscalculated and I didn't invest enough time. And that's it. I drew the game. Yeah, sorry about the bad chess. I hope the next tournament is going to be better. I still have one game to show you, unfortunately. and then we're moving on to other more positive stuff. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.